All right guys, we're back. I got back from a business trip. Nice little couple days away from my personal projects, but we're going to jump right back into this as soon as I'm done with some meetings and stuff. It is Friday. I'm getting on this again. I want it to be running by either tonight or tomorrow morning. That is the goal. We are just waiting out the rain. Before you put on your head gaskets, notice how this says left. So if it's left, that's from the driver's perspective. So if you're sitting in the driver's seat, left side would be then right when you're looking at the engine from the front. All right, once you have your cylinder head on, I had my wife come run out the bolts to me because I was an idiot and I put this on here. Got this on top of the gasket. Oop. Damn, almost dropped a bunch of sockets. Got on the gasket, as you can see there, and I had it lined up with the dowels. And then what I did was I took one of these bolts and went down the center and then hand tightened this with a 16mm socket. This will keep it in place while we figure everything else out. I have all my bolts hand tightened. Basically what we're gonna do is start the torque sequence. You can look this up online as far as what the torque sequence is, as far as what position you're tightening. Normally this is from inside to out. I'm gonna have to Google that. And then there's like 3 different passes. According to Google results, we have our stages, our M12 bolts. Those are the longer ones that actually go into the cylinder head, into the block. And so do the smaller ones too, but these are shorter. Your M12 bolts is first stage is 25 foot-pounds, then 40 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. And then your M8 bolts are 15 foot-pounds, then 25 foot-pounds. I just downloaded this image here. This is courtesy of Daimler Chrysler Corp. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we're gonna do a first stage in this pattern, which should be 25 foot-pounds. The passenger side cylinder head is on. Time for the rocker arms, but I forgot one step, push rods. We wanna match them up with these little cups right here. But those little cups on the rocker arms, that's what you wanna match up with. You see how that push rod is placed in the little cup? That's how you want it. If it's outside that cup, it's gonna slip right out. It's dark again, but we have everything lined up. Check everything. Check all your push rods, especially when you're doing this. Make sure they're in their cups. Valve covers, we're gonna clean them first because they're dirty. We'll just wait out the rain. We have our gaskets pulled out, our spark plug tube kind of seals, placing those two with what comes in the kit, and then have that all replaced. I got it all nice and clean, so that'll look like new. Look at that, now we have pretty blue gaskets. That is definitely the sign that you have installed performance parts, because it's a different, vibrant color. All right, while we've waited out the rain, I have the torque specs, which is 70 inch-pounds, and the torque sequence in which to put the valve covers on. I just want to snug them all up by hand. These rubber gaskets tend to run away from me a little bit. I want to make sure I'm just nice and hand snug before I start torquing this down. We're done with the one side, everything's torqued down. Now time to clean up the other side and install that side. So here's something for you, coil boots and coil packs for the Gen 3 Hemi. This is before. This is after. New boots, new boot plugs. So here's what you do. You take one of these. I don't see many videos on this, so basically you pull them right off. Here's your spring. You can get the other one. It takes some force. It takes some elbow grease, guys, so don't be afraid to pull. There are springs and coil boots, and that connects to your coil pack. Now what we're gonna do is clean this up. You don't have to, but then install your new boot. Once you have it all cleaned up, you install your new boots. Make sure your spring is lined up. Make sure get a nice little seat on there, you'll feel it, and you're done. Do the same for the rest. A little something that you're gonna need to do before you install your coils in. Grab some of the dielectric compound here. A little dab will do you. We finally got our front main seal, our crankshaft seal, out. Now, I got a little creative with this one, and you probably could too, but basically what I did was I took my rubber mallet, pretty much almost the exact same size. So what I did was I held it here and then I pounded it with my electric hammer. You can get these, they're very rare to find, but if you have a grandfather, they might have one of these in their garage or your dad's garage. Use a little bit of Berryman's or whatever cleaning you want. Get rid of some of the gunk on the inside here, some of that old material. So I'm gonna use some assembly lube. You can grease it if you want, but I'm gonna use some Lucas Oil assembly lube for this. Nope, I'm trying to do that. We were just evenly tapping it in because just to get it all set. I mean, it's pretty much set all the way in there for the most part, but once we put our crank pulley on, that sucker is gonna. All right, new timing cover gasket is installed. I saw some YouTube videos where someone was saying that, oh, don't start off on one end then end in the other because then it'll overlap and it won't fit right. I don't know, first try and did not experience any of that, so maybe Texas Speed makes their gaskets pretty good. Still up for debate. Post installation seems to be fine. Seems to fit just fine on here. And what I'm gonna do, since I cleaned up the inside and sprayed this whole thing down with water to clean it too, and then dried it off again, I'm gonna spray some WD-40 on the inside portion of this so no rust or corrosion hits it. The only reason why I'm doing that is about to go out to the movies with my family. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some RTV black on the oil pan where these contacts are. So as you can see, there's gasket material on the bottom. All right, welcome day whatever. We're gonna work on putting our timing cover on. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use a little magnet and just check the oil pan for any kind of metal shavings or any kind of metal objects in there or any kind of debris, and then just make sure that that's all nice and clean before we seal everything up. We're gonna put a little dollop of RTV sealant on the bottom corners. As you can see here, we have bottom corners with gasket material. We're gonna put just a tiny little dot of RTV sealant just to keep that in line. And then we can start putting on the real stuff, the stuff that, you know, makes things function as far as what the computer tells it to do. The intake, the fuel, the ignition. And then we can start installing the radiator, AC condenser, everything else. So I'm excited. We might have this running today. All right, so let me show you how I'm doing this. Do not come in on the left side unless you have a smaller magnet. For me, I have this kind of bigger, but what I do is I'll come reach back here. There's a little bit of space over here. And then I bring this down the oil pan, just kind of gently skim the area. Don't be rough. Just kind of go around. This is the deep part of the oil pan. If anything was to drop from here, it'll be up here. Yes, this is very much a paranoia move, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Didn't find anything crazy or extravagant, so we're gonna move on, clean this up, and get this timing cover installed. So why am I showing you this trick? It's pretty simple. This little thing right here saved me. I dropped one of the timing chain tensioner bolts down there, the one that actually snapped. I went ahead and used this, went down there, retrieved it, no problem. How does this help? Well, you don't have to remove the oil pan in order to get your things. Just use one of these handy dandy extendo magnetos. Sweet. Shine up that crankshaft real nice. Check it out. Just tap it in. Tap, tap, tap it in. We got this water pump gasket, brittle as hell. Yikes. Oh, and the reason why I'm doing the water pump gasket right now is because I'm gonna clean everything up and put that right on the timing cover, because some of the bolts go through the water pump as well. And the timing cover on, one thing to mention is that you have a bolt that goes along with your belt tensioner. Take your belt tensioner pulley off, not the actual tensioner itself, but just the bolt that holds the pulley. So that way you can get access to the bolt that goes through the timing cover and into the block. All that's left for me to do is continue torquing down the timing cover bolts. Once that's all said and done, then we'll put those pulleys back on, and then we can move on to the crankshaft pulley. So 21 foot-pounds, we're gonna go in a crisscross pattern. Okay, we have our idler pulleys back on. We got our belt tensioner pulley back on. Now it's time to start putting on some accessories. Things are starting to come together. Try something, we're gonna lube up the inside of this. Get that sucker in there. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Cool.
One of the hardest parts that was supposed to be is now the easiest part. All right, guys. We have some things together here. Let me update you because I skipped a few things. So as you can tell, or as you already know, our crank pulley is on. That was easier than I thought. AC compressor is mounted, but we still have one bolt in the back that needs to go in. Alternator is mounted, but it's kind of leaned forward a little bit because what we're gonna do is we're gonna plug everything up on the back of here. And then our harness, we have a few plugs. One down there somewhere. Oh geez, I can't really see. There's one there, and then one beside that over here. And then we have our intake that we are going to just take a shot back to some of the ports here just to make sure that there's no debris in there, but we've wiped it down pretty good. Just getting ready for reinstallation here. The headers are actually mounted to the mid pipes. You can't really see them. Can't really see them, but hey, you've got a coolant hose here. Just be careful. Be mindful of that coolant hose, by the way, because it got caught up in the headers. But yeah, headers are mounted to the mid pipes on both sides and O2 sensors are plugged in. So now we're just plugging away. Plugging away. All right, we have all our connections lined up here. Our injectors are plugged in. Our coils are plugged in. And we have our alternator getting hooked up here. So we're just slowly plugging away here. And then we'll get to the other side soon. So now, as you can see, we have our fuel connected now, finally. We're gonna bring down our connections, start plugging away here. And apparently the intake manifold has a torque sequence. And here on the Challenger forums, it says that pre-2015, we're looking at 105 inch-pounds. All right, our intake bolts are now all torqued down to spec. And now we're gonna start plugging away on the driver's side for the ignition coils, fuel injectors, and then some of the accessories like the AC compressor. My third bolt on the AC compressor is still lost, so I'm not gonna be doing anything crazy just yet. I wanna make sure I can find that, or at the very least, find a replacement bolt that can fit into there. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. All right, a couple updates. Oil is filled up. Now we're moving on to setting up the radiator. Getting this thing filled up with coolant too. Well, I got the radiator in and the AC condenser. Forgot a piece. Yep. Gotta drop it again, attach the fan. Man, getting ahead of myself. Don't rush it, don't rush it. We have our tune loaded, so now it's time for first startup.